Le groupe d'ANAS représente 640 millions de personnes et, comme on sait, ça c'est presque le double de la population des États-Unis. Ça représente, si on groupe les pays ensemble, notre 6e partenaire économique dans le monde et on devrait en faire davantage. De pouvoir être engagé dans le sommet de l'Asie de l'Est, ça nous donnerait l'opportunité d'être présents pas seulement sur des discussions économiques qu'on a à l'APEC, mais sur des discussions de sécurité, de droits humains, de développement, d'opportunités pour nos citoyens dans une région qui était d'une croissance extrêmement rapide. On voit l'importance de diversifier, d'être engagé de façon positive et productive dans le monde et la présence du Canada au sein du sommet de l'Asie de l'Est, au sein de l'ANAS, représente une vraie opportunité pour le Canada et pour les Canadiens.
JP Tasker, CBC News. Did you raise the issue of human rights and the extrajudicial killings with President Duterte while you were here in the Philippines, and if not, why?
I actually had an opportunity to have a conversation with President Duterte just before our meeting earlier this morning, the larger meeting earlier this morning, in which I emphasized, of course, the people-to-people ties between Canada and the Philippines and the great connections there. But I also mentioned human rights, the rule of law, and specifically extrajudicial killings as being an issue that Canada is concerned with. We also discussed the garbage issue, which I know has been a long-standing irritant, and I committed to him, as I'm happy to commit to you all now, that Canada is very much engaged in finding a solution on that. Okay. Oui, j'ai eu la chance d'échanger directement avec le président Duterte, où j'ai parlé évidemment des liens personne à personne très profonds entre le Canada et les Philippines, mais j'ai aussi soulevé des enjeux plus difficiles, notamment les droits humains, la règle du droit et aussi la question des meurtres en dehors de l'encadrement du système judiciaire. C'est un enjeu qui est préoccupant pour les Canadiens et il fallait absolument que je le souligne directement avec le président. On a aussi parlé d'un enjeu par rapport à des déchets canadiens qui sont ici à Manille et on travaille ensemble pour régler la situation.
And what was the President's reaction when you raised the issue of human rights? Was he receptive to your message?
Canada has earned a reputation for being able to have strong and sometimes frank, always frank, sometimes firm discussions around rule of law and human rights with partners around the world. It's very much what people expect of Canada, and it comes as no surprise when we do bring it up. This is something that is important to Canadians and it's important to the world, and I will always bring that up. The President was receptive to my comments, and we it was throughout a very cordial and positive exchange. Okay. Les gens autour du monde s'attendent à ce que le Canada parle de droits humains, parle de nos valeurs. Alors, c'est jamais une surprise quand le Premier ministre canadien parle d'enjeux des fois difficiles. Ça fait partie de nos valeurs, mais ce qui fait aussi partie de nos valeurs, c'est de le faire de façon ferme mais respectueuse. Et le président a été très réceptif à mes commentaires.
Bonjour M. Trudeau, Philippe Vincent Fosy de Radio-Canada. Demain, on va parler de mission de paix. Je ne vous demande pas de dire ce que vous allez annoncer demain. Et j'aimerais ça, juste que vous soyez capable d'expliquer aux Canadiens comment, avec 600 soldats, 150 policiers, alors qu'il y en a 110 000 casques bleus déployés dans le monde, on peut être efficace comme pays et avoir un impact?
Voilà la question. C'est au cœur des réflexions que le Canada a depuis bien des mois déjà, depuis qu'on s'est engagé à présenter jusqu'à 600 soldats et un demi-milliard de dollars aux opérations de la paix onusienne. Comment, quand on parle de presque 100 000 casques bleus autour du monde, est-ce que jusqu'à 600 soldats canadiens peuvent avoir un impact significatif quand on voit l'ampleur des défis et des problèmes qu'on a autour du monde. Mais on sait quand même, et on sait très bien, que les Canadiens s'attendent à ce que le Canada joue un rôle significatif et positif dans le monde. Et le monde et l'ONU ont besoin du Canada d'apporter ses capacités, son expertise pour faire une différence. C'est la réflexion qu'on a depuis plusieurs mois et je sais que tout le monde va être très heureux de voir la solution tout à fait à l'image de nos valeurs et de notre approche que nous allons présenter demain. The question around United Nations peacekeeping, the commitment that Canada has made for up to $500 million and 600 peacekeepers around the world. The question that is naturally posed is how can those 600 Canadian troops and police officers make a difference in a world where there are close to 100,000 peacekeeping troops active at any given time? How can Canada best help? Because make no mistake, Canadians expect Canada to have a strong and positive contribution that makes a real difference, and the world expects Canada to make a significant contribution that makes a difference. So the question of how to do that with a commitment of 600 personnel is one that has occupied us over the past months. And I'm very pleased to say that what we will be announcing tomorrow in Vancouver at the UN Peacekeeping Summit is fully in line not just with Canadian values and Canadians' desire to see our country having maximal positive impact around the world, but fully in line with what the UN and indeed the world has expressed its need and interest in.
Mais en même temps, M. Trudeau, à l'ONU, on le sait, il y a des gens qui sont fâchés par la proposition qui a été faite. Le secrétaire général de l'ONU ne sera même pas là avec vous au sommet de l'ONU sur les missions de paix. Comment pouvez-vous dire que les gens vont être contents?
Nous avons travaillé avec le secrétariat de l'ONU. On a travaillé directement avec le secrétaire général, avec qui j'ai eu des bons échanges hier, justement sur ce sujet. Nous savons que l'ONU et nos partenaires à travers le monde vont être très réceptifs aux propositions innovatives qu'on va mettre de l'avant demain, qui vont démontrer que le Canada, qui était à l'origine avec Lester Pearson de la création des casques bleus, est encore une fois en train de créer et de développer des façons de maintenir et assurer la paix dans le monde à l'image de nos valeurs et de notre histoire. I've had a number of conversations, including with the Secretary General of the United Nations yesterday, about our engagement around peacekeeping. I know that the announcement we're making tomorrow will be extremely well received by the UN, by our partners who have long been waiting to see Canada once again step up in the way we did all those years ago when Lester Pearson contributed to the creation of the UN peacekeeping force around the Suez Canal crisis. Much is expected of Canada in how we create effective peacekeeping in the 21st century when we know the nature of conflicts, the nature of insurgency has changed radically. How can we make sure that we are best helping around the world and that we are using our abilities and expertise to ensure maximal positive impact, not just for Canadian contributions, but for all peacekeepers, is at the center of the announcement we'll be making tomorrow.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Kevin Gallagher with CTV News. I'm following up on a story my colleague Mercedes Stevenson did. There are concerns that a new policy will take allowances from injured special forces and troops after 180 days. that could lead them to hide their injuries, including post-traumatic stress disorder. So there's a concern now, isn't that counters to some of the messages from your government, especially on mental health and well-being of our troops?
We, as a government, owe unimaginable amounts to the men and women who have served their country in our armed forces and put their lives and their families' livelihood, in many cases, at risk in service of their country. Our government over the past 2 years has made significant steps in improving service and care for veterans, support for their families, support not just physical but mental as well. We know that there is always much more to do. Our Minister of Defence and our Minister of Veterans Affairs take very, very seriously the responsibility to ensure that the sacred obligation we have towards those who serve our country is fully met. And I know that both the Minister of Defence and the Minister of Veterans Affairs are looking into this issue to ensure that, in fact, we are giving proper care, mental and physical, to all of our soldiers and veterans.
But will your government reconsider this policy that takes away allowances after 180 days of being injured or ill?
As I've said, the Minister of Defence, the Minister of Veterans Affairs are looking very, very seriously at this issue to ensure that everyone gets the right duty of care. We know that there has been much we have had to do over the past 2 years since we formed government to improve the care the veterans are getting after 10 years of less of the care that they actually needed. And one of the things we're moving forward in a thoughtful, careful way is around ensuring that there are no unintended negative consequences like apparently might be happening in this situation, which is something we take very seriously because our values and our actions are entirely lined up with our responsibility to care for and support those who have served our country.
Andy Blatchford, Canadian Press. Mr. Prime Minister, how does Canada saying it can develop oil sustainably because the world isn't going to wean itself off oil overnight any different from the U.S. saying that finding ways to burn coal more cleanly is better when the world isn't weaning off coal anytime soon?
Let me be very blunt about this. Coal represents perhaps the greatest challenge to Canada or to the world not meeting its climate change targets. Unless we reduce coal consumption, we are not going to be able to create catastrophic global warming. Canada has taken significant steps in phasing out coal. We will continue to ensure that is successful. We are investing in renewables. We're moving beyond it. But we know that the atmosphere doesn't care where carbon is emitted. It all impacts on all of us. So we are committed to working with our international partners, with our friends and allies, to reduce coal consumption, to reduce emissions related to coal, and to find alternatives that are less polluting. This is something that matters deeply, and it's why Canada has made a commitment of $2.65 billion on international development assistance specifically to fight climate change and to get countries and communities to reduce their dependence on fossil fuels, particularly coal, and move towards cleaner sources of energy.
How is this any different than oil?
We know that there is a continuum in terms of emissions. Coal is the dirtiest, oil is next, and then natural gas has the lowest emissions profile of the fossil fuels. We need to reduce fossil fuels in general to move towards a low-carbon economy. We need to ensure we are creating much greater energy efficiencies while at the same time ensuring the way we are extracting and processing and using these fuels has the minimal impact on the environment. That's hardest to do with coal, but we recognize that there is much to do in improving our efficiencies and our cleanliness, or the lowering of emissions around all fossil fuels. Nous savons que le charbon est responsable pour les plus grands défis au niveau des changements climatiques, et nous devons réduire et éventuellement éliminer l'utilisation du charbon comme source d'énergie. Le Canada a déjà mené la charge en éliminant les centrales du charbon dans les prochaines années. Nous allons continuer de le faire, mais nous savons aussi que nous nous devons d'être engagés autour du monde pour développer des solutions qui démontrent qu'il y a d'autres alternatives au charbon. Des différents carburants fossiles, c'est évidemment le charbon qui est le plus émetteur. Ensuite, c'est le pétrole, et le mieux des carburants fossiles, c'est le gaz naturel qui en émet le moins. Mais ça représente quand même des défis où on doit augmenter notre efficacité énergétique, et nous devons aussi améliorer notre façon de rendre ça plus propre pour pouvoir atteindre nos cibles, pour empêcher des changements de climat catastrophiques.
Prime Minister, Michael Couture with Global National. I'd ask you to answer in English and French to this question, please. More than a year ago, after the execution of Robert Hall in this country, a statement from your office said that you would be working with the Philippine government and other international partners to, quote, bring Hall's killers to justice. What are you doing to make that happen?
We have actually mentioned the collaboration with the Philippines when I had an exchange with President Duterte earlier today. We continue to be part of international efforts to fight against international terrorism, to reduce the use of hostage-taking as a fundraising mechanism for terrorist groups and cells, and we continue to work to ensure that there are consequences for anyone who is engaged in terrorist hostage-taking. We have been advised by the Philippines that most of the people engaged in the kidnapping of the two Canadians have been killed in military operations, but we continue to work with the Philippines to ensure that everyone associated with that is brought to justice. Le Canada continue d'être engagé avec une coalition de partenaires et alliés dans la lutte contre le terrorisme international. Nous allons continuer de travailler avec les Philippines pour s'assurer que tous ceux qui sont responsables de la prise en otage de Canadiens, des deux Canadiens il y a 2 ans, soient amenés en justice ou qu'il y ait des conséquences. Les Philippines nous ont avisé que les membres de Abu Sayyaf qui étaient responsables de cette prise en otage de Canadiens ont été tués, mais nous continuons de travailler avec les services policiers et d'information des Philippines pour s'assurer que tout le monde sache que ce n'est jamais dans leur intérêt de prendre en otage des Canadiens ni quiconque autre pour lever des fonds pour le terrorisme.
Members of the victims' family are actually calling on the government to create this new action plan that would, among other things, provide better communication with the families, also a specialized group that could come on the ground and help. Is your government willing to commit to that?
We have been very much engaged both with the families and with other experts from around the world on how to best move forward in situations that unfortunately do come up more and more often, where there are terrorist ransom takings. As you all know, Canada has taken a very, very strong line, and that we will never pay ransoms to terrorist groups. That is something that both creates funding for these terrorist groups to go and create more violence, but it also puts at risk the millions of Canadians who live, work, and travel every day around the world as potential sources of revenue for terrorist groups. So we stand firmly on that. But obviously through the experiences that we've had, tragic experiences we've had, we continue to look for ways to be more effective and provide better support to families who are in these tragic and horrific circumstances.
Good afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister. I'm Willard Cheng from ABS-CBN Manila. I would just like to follow up on the issue of the trash that was shipped from Canada to the Philippines. You mentioned that you are committed to finding a solution, but what specific steps is Canada taking to address the matter, and how soon can we see action, especially since you had also told us in a press conference here in 2015 that a Canadian solution was already being developed? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. This is something that has its root in private businesses signing contracts and having specific disputes. But Canada is, of course, very open to working with the government of the Philippines to resolve this question. One of the early barriers that I was talking about when I was here 2 years ago that represented a challenge is that Canadian legal regulations prevented us from being able to receive the waste back in Canada. Even though it originally came from Canada, we had legal barriers and restrictions that prevented us from being able to take it back. Those regulations and those impediments have now been addressed, so it is now theoretically possible to get it back, but there's still a number of questions around who will pay for it, where the financial responsibility is, where the consequences are, as this was at its origin a commercial transaction that did not involve governments. But I expressed to President Duterte and have the assurance of my officials both here in the Philippines and back in Canada that we will continue to work on this and hopefully resolve this situation.
Last question.
Hang on, I'll just answer that one in French. Aux origines du défi au niveau des déchets qui sont ici aux Philippines d'origine canadienne, c'est un enjeu entre deux compagnies, ou une compagnie privée, et donc ça n'impliquait pas dès l'origine les gouvernements. Mais quand il est maintenant question de rapatrier ces déchets au Canada, on s'est rendu compte qu'il y a des blocages légaux qui empêchaient le Canada de reprendre ou d'accepter de reprendre ses propres déchets une fois qu'il s'était rendu outre-mer. Nous avons trouvé des façons de permettre, au moins théoriquement, de reprendre ces déchets, mais là, il y a une question de comment ça va se faire et à qui la responsabilité de payer pour ça. Comme c'était une affaire de corporation privée, le gouvernement n'a pas la responsabilité directe, mais nous, comme je l'ai dit au président Duterte, nous prenons très au sérieux notre responsabilité de contribuer à une solution et nous travaillons ensemble là-dessus.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. I'm Ayum Karaig from Agence France Presse. You mentioned you raised the issue of extrajudicial killings with President Duterte. Could you tell us what actions is Canada calling on the Philippines to do to address these allegations? And secondly, human rights groups have expressed concern about the declining state of human rights in Southeast Asia, from the Rohingya crisis in Myanmar, the crackdown on civil rights in Cambodia and Vietnam, to the allegations of killings in the drug war. Do you think the issue of human rights should be discussed at length and in depth more in ASEAN? Thank you.
Canada is a country that always brings up human rights issues and strongly engages in line with our values everywhere around the world. Countries around the world have learned to accept that and expect it even of Canada, even as we engage constructively on other ways in economics and trade in benefits for our peoples. Countries around the world know that when you engage with Canada, you will hear about human rights concerns. And we are the first to mention that we are not perfect either, that Indigenous peoples in Canada have suffered neglect, marginalization, and mistreatment for decades, if not centuries, indeed centuries. So we know that talking about human rights is an essential part of a path forward. It has to be done in an honest and frank way, but it has to be done. We have to talk about the high expectations we must have to protect life, to uphold the rule of law and human rights. We know that there is always more work to do, and Canada inevitably offers support and help, both through our own experiences and where we have failed and where we have succeeded, but also in our institutions, whether it's our justice system, whether it's around policing, whether it's around governance. These are things that Canada can sometimes share best practices and help countries move along in a way that creates opportunity, security, stability for all its citizens. I had extended conversation with the State Counsellor of Myanmar, Aung San Suu Kyi, about the plight of the Muslim refugees in Rakhine State. This is of tremendous concern to Canada and many, many other countries around the world. And again, we're always looking at not how we can sort of shake our finger and yell at people, but how we can help, how we can move forward in a way that reduces violence, that emphasizes the rule of law, and that ensures protection for all citizens. As I mentioned to President Duterte, we are concerned with human rights, with the extrajudicial killings, impress upon him the need for respect for the rule of law, and as always, offered Canada's support and help as a friend to help move forward on what is a real challenge. This is the way we engage with the world. This is the way we always will.
En français, mais juste sur la dernière partie, là, sur le président des Philippines.
Ce que j'ai dit au président des Philippines, c'est que je suis préoccupé, évidemment, par les droits humains, par la situation de meurtre extrajudiciaire, mais nous allons évidemment travailler avec les Philippines s'ils veulent et s'ils ont besoin de notre appui, comme on le fait partout dans le monde. Nous avions nos propres expériences au niveau des droits humains qu'on a encore à travailler. Il n'y a personne qui est parfait là-dedans. Et je lui ai, comme il le sait, proposé d'être là s'ils ont besoin de nous ou s'ils veulent de nous. C'est le rôle que le Canada joue partout dans le monde. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. What a pleasure to see you all. What a pleasure to be back here in the Philippines. Thank you very much, everyone.